Hello everybody, my name is Farmer Phil, and in today's video, hopefully by the end of it, we'll have all the machinery put away for the winter. So Lee will be putting all our trailers, everything that he can fit out there when I'm getting the feeding done. And also in this video, when we get around to moving the stone picker, which I'm going to put up into the shed in Out Farm, give her a grease down, we'll talk a bit about how stone picker went this year, how it performed, and a little bit then about contracting, maybe the financial end of how it's worked out this year. So when we get to moving that machine, we'll start on that topic. But to start off, I'm going to stick the camera on time lapse and just watch all these trailers coming out of the yard and into the purpose-built machinery park now. Looking forward to seeing the yard declutter now with them all out there. Happy days. And we're back. It's now evening. Lee has moved a good few machines into the yard. We had to go off then and finish pulling beet for a customer, and we're just back from that. So it took a bit of going, we had a couple of breakdowns, but we have it done. As you can see there, 6290 is in repairs. They're changing the priority valve in it. Lee's in the middle of that. A bit come from Murphy's there today, so he's going to get that done this evening. And the beet harvester is there. We had a few issues. We burst the hydraulic pipe, oil pressure. I'll go through everything that went wrong, because I'm going to do a video, because we now have some more work to do before we start pulling her on. We have 2 bearings to change, and we have to refit a carousel as she started losing some of the spine, so that all has to be done. So I'll be making a video on that and go through the few things that went wrong, but we got the job done. Man, very happy, and yielded quite well. It was organic stuff we'd done, and very surprised at how well it yielded. But anyways, so we're going to go in now and start moving more machinery around and try and get all the machinery up to the Out Farm and fill out that shed, and probably move the stone picker in the morning, because we won't find it getting dark. 5 o'clock and there's another hour of daylight left. Anyways, we'll get some machinery moved. So just come out to the machinery park. It's hard to know what way to park machines out here, because I don't really want anything parked in front of things, but then putting 2 silage chairs in front of each other makes no difference. We still have the Bracken trailer. We have it till all the cattle are in. That was the arrangement on that demo. So we still have space there with the umbilical system sitting now. It needs to be washed yet. But yeah, it's hard to know what way to park in machinery, because in like full flight, apart from silage chairs, about the only thing you want it that you can pull any machine out. So yeah, a bit sorting to figure out there. But the one issue we have with out here currently is here, and it's boiled up with the pumpkins patch. Like, we had a lot of cars drive in here. We could have had the guts of 1,500 cars driving in and out of here. Definitely 1,350 cars, but sometimes there's 2 or 3 cars per family we had. But you can see it's all boiled up. And it was, when we originally started, it was boiling up here. We dug this out, we put a new 3-inch down, and then it started boiling up out here. And it's only so far boiling here. So when we do start our project out there with the farm shop, we're going to have to get this section all dug out again, put in probably a membrane just to be sure, and some fresh stuff. The mistake was made that we put in all the rough stuff at the start and then put a 3-inch down. We should have put in our 3-inch first and then put in the rough stuff where there's not as much traffic. But yeah, it has boiled. It's a bit of a nuisance, but this is what it is. The rest of it is all well driven, but this here is a nuisance, is the right thing to say. So this will have to get done when that's being done. And then the other thing, when we do whatever we're going to do here next year, that also changes whatever we're going to park stuff. But anyways, I want to take 7618 and yeah, we'll go move up the woofler. Don't worry, move that up, that usually stays out. I might try and find somewhere to put it out here, and the John Deere baler to go up and the grass harrow to go up. We get them up, and then we have to rearrange pallets in the shed, and then we put the 2 headers into the straw hay shed, as we actually don't have a lot of anything in the shed, to be honest. We're actually quite short on straw. But anyways, That's a problem for another day. So we'll just have the John Deere on there now. I'm going to run it up to the out farm. So yeah, the John Deere has probably done more bales this year than as well. It's a hard one to know. I haven't actually looked at the clock to see what it says, as we would have done very little hay this year with the way the weather was, as everybody knows, but we done nearly all the straw was baled with the round baler. So yes, it's one of them things. It's probably no more than any other year, but it would feel like definitely a lot more straw than in the last few years, baled with this baler. So anyways, we'll drop her back up to the farm, or drop her up to the shed for the winter, and yeah, we'll see you again next year. And that's the John Deere in. And I was just thinking after, when I was talking about straw, we didn't get all the straw baled this year. We didn't get any of our beans straw baled. It's just rotted back into the ground. And we didn't get about 2 if not 3 acres of oaten straw baled. Everything else we got baled, so we weren't doing too bad in comparison to other farmers around the country, but that's bits we didn't get baled, just the way the weather is. But anyways, we'll be on. It's nice to be able to park it where you know it's out of the way, not park it in the yard in the middle of the way. Anyways, we get in the 99 there, and we move on the grass harrow on up, and we have to put back in the mowers, as we had to take out the mowers to put in stuff, so we'll put back in the mowers now when we're up that far. So we'll be on. So we're just on the road up with this machine. So one of the things I want to do in this video is I want to talk a little bit about contracting, agricultural contracting. We do a nice bit of it, maybe not as much as we once done, but we still do pretty decent bit, I like to think anyways. And I do my own bit on my own thing, and this machine behind me, the grass harrow, the 6mm EirCode, is one of my machines. I have this, the big Square Bale, and the stone picker. They're my 3 machines. So when I go out to do a bit of work with these, that money goes to me. So it's my own little thing. And this year is the first year I've done quite a lot with this machine. I've had it 3 years now, I think. Maybe 3 years, or it's 2 years. I think it's 3 years. And this year I done quite a bit with it. Done overseeding, reseeding, stitching in, but for ourselves, it's the most I've ever done with it, so it is. And just got on well, everyone seemed happy, and yeah, just done a good job. Would have liked to have done more for ourselves with it, going in after we cut some of the silage, trying to introduce some newer grass and maybe get rid of some of the old grass seed we have. But maybe next year I get around to doing it. But yeah, I had a pretty decent year with this, and yeah, happy out really. So anyways, we get going into the shed. So just after leaving up the grass harrow there, and I said I'd talk a little bit about my big Square Bale. Very proud of my big Square Bale. Something that I always wanted, and it's just after doing its 3rd season there, and I've finally done enough work with it this year, although it wasn't a lot this year, to have I've made the money back on the machine. So it's done pretty well by me. It's given me absolutely no trouble. The one thing though, and it was partly why it didn't see a lot of use this year when it came to the straw, is this machine is a cut chamber, and the cut chamber is, it should be an 80 by 90 bale, but it's cut down to 80 by 70, and to my understanding, and the reason why it really hates anything that's not fit, anything that's anyway damp or not fit at all, I start busting shear bolts like it's going out of fashion. So that's why I baled very little straw this year. I baled actually no straw for hire this year, whereas last year I made quite a lot of bales for hire last year, nearly as many as we made for ourselves on hire last year with straw. But I made none this year, and to my understanding, she takes up and she makes a flake 80 by 90, and then she shoves it up, and then she's compressing it down into 80 by 70, and that extra pull that it's putting on, combined then with its own mechanism for actually putting compression on the bale, is fit to overload the system. So when I bought this originally, I was hoping that I'd start making silage bales, but ain't hoping hell. I'm going to have to change the baler to be able to start doing big square bales of silage. But she does hay, she'll bale stuff, and it's easy knowing if it's fit, it'll bale. If it's not fit, if it won't bale, then it's not fit. So it works quite nicely that way too. Going into this year, I had hoped that I would get a nice bit of work. I had work lined up from the year before, that between hopping and trotting and a bad spell here and a bad spell there was work I didn't get to do, and I was hoping for that work to carry into this year along with the work I had already gathered up. But because of how wet July turned out, like, we made over 300 bales for ourselves of hay. I also done a new job as well for hay in that early season hay that was got. But then that was it. Apart from baling our own bit of straw after that, all the other work that I had lined up that I had done the previous years, I couldn't do because the weather never came right. And that's it. It's just a dry weather machine. And when you buy machinery like that for hire, on a dry year, a machine that works in the dry, you're laughing. But on a wet year, a machine that wants to work in the dry, working with hay or straw, just not as easy as it should be, or you'd like it to be. But I'm very happy with my big square baler. It has treated me well. It's due, we put it away, she's fully, I'm pretty sure I filmed putting it in here. All that has to be done with that to roll out next year to start baling hay is we just have to put on a few pickup tines and just grease her down. And she's ready to rock and roll, just like that. But yeah, it's just one of them years. Just if it had been drier, there was more to be done. But that's the joys of the job. That's the joys of contracting and buying machinery. You don't know. A machine you can work in the wet, you can work regardless of whether it's wet or dry. But a machine that's for dry conditions, you can't work in the wet. So that's one thing I'm looking to invest in. I have a machine in mind, not a big machine or anything, but a machine in mind for next year to buy that I can work in the wet, so that you get a wet summer, you have that machine to be able to do something. So anyways, we'll go get the stone picker next, and then we finish up our tale of contracting. And now here we have the Kiva Pika stone picker, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of it, but however. So we'll just put it all together now to bring up, to put away for the winter. I want to keep it inside because there's a lot of bearings and drives in it that want to be, just don't want the water lying in them. So, but I suppose the bit everybody wants to know is how have I got on this year with the machine? What did I think? Was it a worthwhile investment? And the numbers. Everyone wants to know numbers. Oi! Get that on eventually. So, go plug in all my pipes here so we can lift it up. But all in all, or I suppose to start, the job the machine does, I've been very happy with. Every customer I've went to has been very happy with. I can't remember actually getting any complaints. It does a good job. It does exactly what it says on the tin. The only thing with the machine, it's not a machine where you plough your field, you till your field, you pick the stones, then you go back in and till it and harrow it and land level it. You do the stone picking as the last job before the seeder comes in. It only collects what's on the surface. It doesn't root up stones. It's not a stone. What's it? My father had a good word for it. Can't just remember it. But it's not. It gathers the stones off the top of the soil. It might collect stones that are half buried, but it won't collect fully buried stones. So if you go disturbing that ground again, it just turns up more stones. That's the only one thing about it. But it does a pretty damn good job, regardless of what kind of stones, and even sticks. I've done a fair bit of different kind of work, different kind of land. I've done work where it was like quarry stone, and that was lovely picking. Everything was a relatively same size. There was no sticking, there was no blocking, or very little of it. That was a lovely job, but quite slow because there was a lot of stone. I've done jobs where it was full reclamation of scrubby kind of ground, where there was a lot of roots and sticks and stuff like that. That's slow. It will pick up sticks and bits of roots, but it tends to block the rotors quite often, or block the intake oftener. So it makes it a slower job, but it's something that it's able to do. Because I've done a bit of everything. I've done straightforward reseeding, I've done reclamation, I've done a bit of everything with it. And everywhere I've brought it, it's done its job. When the ground is right though, that is one of the things. So one of the things that the ground has to be right when this machine goes out. It doesn't like damp, wet or underprepared soil, as it will gather anything that will not fit through that sieve there, and the same with the tank behind it. So anything bigger than an inch goes in. So if you have clods, sods, anything like that, that's in the tank. You can lose some of it through the side sweeps or the rotors bringing it into the centre if you drive faster, but the faster you drive, the more stones you leave behind. So there's that fine line, and that was one of the issues with this year, and why that's the best way of putting it. That's why I haven't done enough work with it to make the repayments for the year. And that was part of the year. July and August were so wet. I had work lined up for July and August. I had a nice bit, enough that would have left me comfortably meeting the target to be able to fully make repayments, including the diesel. So any, what's the best way? I'm trying to think. Your direct input, so basically diesel and repayments. I had enough work lined up, but it came so wet. The machine, I didn't use it at all in July or August. I was back out in September, but I only done a small bit as ground was still tricky and ground has been left off. And that's part of it. You'd know, it's not a wetland machine, or it's not a wet year machine. A dry year, grand, but a wet year, it sits there, you know. And that's one of the things about contracting and about when you go to buy a machine, particularly a machine like this. This is a relatively new machine. There's not too many in the country. It's a machine I think some people may have never even heard existed when I put up the video first, a stone picker. How that had to save many a young lad's back in the day, and many an argument and whatnot. And it's a thing of every time you go do a job and people see the job that's been done and how it's been done, it's expensive enough to do, especially if I don't have someone drawing away stone, because it's by the hour I charge, so you pay for what stones there is. But it's one of them things, because it's not so much known and there's not many out there. You have to do work to get more work. It's one of these. It's a machine that I fully expected this year that I wouldn't earn enough with the machine to make the repayments. I was expecting that, because I knew that it'll take a year or 2 years before you get kind of that, well, this lad sees that, the neighbours see that job, and then maybe they get you. And it's that expansion of how a machine works. It was the same when my father bought the first umbilical system. It was the same when I bought the big square baler. As I said, it's taken 3 years to get it paid for, but every year I've done more, apart from this year because of, as I said, the weather, no more than with this machine. And that's one of the things with contracting. When you buy a machine like this, and people will say, well, why didn't I buy a baler, or why didn't I buy this, or why didn't I buy that, or why didn't I build a shed, or why I done. Because look, everyone's opinions are different. If I had bought a baler, right, that would have maybe cut our workload in half, because we'd be able to run 2 balers most days, and we had the staff to run 2 balers as we took on the extra person, so that I would be able to take on any extra work with this machine. But we wouldn't, as someone says, as a comment I remember at the time said, why didn't you just buy another baler and take on more work? It's not just as simple as buying a machine that there's plentiful and just expecting you'll take work. Because look at a baler, one time there was a baler between a few parishes. Now there's a parish between a few balers. Balers are so plentiful that, and it's the same with any other kind of machine, a lot of machinery that's out there now. For you to buy it and expect to have not done it before and get into that line of work, you have to take that work off someone else, and you're only taking it off someone else who probably needs that work to make their own repayments on the machine they have. So contracting is, you know, anyone who's at contract will know what I mean. Maybe less so the general public in that, but it's one of them things. It's hard to explain, but there is always that bit of rivalry. Every time someone buys something new in an area, it's kind of that expectation. Well, if they're going to get work, they're going to take my work or your work or someone else's work. It's not just as simple as to buy something and then that new work appears for that machine to have something to do. You know, it's a funny thing like that. That's why I bought this machine, because there's none out there. in our area. Well, there is now, but there wasn't when I bought it first. And I knew that there was a market there where there was nothing for, and that's why I bought this machine. That's why I didn't buy a baler, or I didn't buy an air tanker, or I didn't do any other kind of machine, because I knew this machine, there's not many of them, and the work is there for it. But with the wet weather this year, just didn't get enough. So the big question yet to be answered is, how short am I on making repayments? And without getting into money, I'll talk in acres, because I've done the maths. I've worked out how many acres I needed to cover based on an average work rate to be able to get the money in to make the repayments. And I was about 3/4 of the way there, so I'm about a quarter short on hire work to get me over the line. So that's make the repayment, pay for the diesel. It doesn't include maintenance, as I'm yet, touch wood, this year, when it's finished now, I was going to the shed, but I haven't broken, I haven't burned the bed, I haven't lost a tine, a tooth, nothing. It has given me zero trouble this year, which is what you would really want to expect with a brand new machine. But just time and diesel, about a quarter short on hire work. If I include the work we done for ourselves on the tillage ground, on the bit of receiving we done, I was about 10 acres short, which is about 5 hours work, which isn't a lot. In the grand scheme of things, it isn't a lot. It would have been very achievable had it have been a drier year. As I said, it just didn't happen. When it comes to the work I done this year, the vast majority of it was got through YouTube. From the YouTube videos showing the machine, showing it working, the vast majority of it was got through the camera, from people seeing it, messaging me. I was asked to go ridiculously far away. I think the furthest someone asked would I pick stones was 138 kilometers away, down between Wicklow and Wexford. I think, if I remember rightly, it was 138 kilometers anyways, and I had from there right back to the neighbour asking me to do work for them. So there is demand out there for this machine, like anything when a new machine arrives. The other thing as well, it's all well and good to say you're out for hire. This seat is squeaky. There's a bit of oil behind it. It's all good to say you're out for hire, but of everyone that I worked for this year, and it's one of the things contractors will often tell you, is sometimes it can be hard to get paid, or you have to wait to get paid. Some men, you wait for single farm payments, some men pay on the day, and to be fair to everyone I worked for this year, apart from one man, everyone paid me the day I left. You know, I've really got on very well. Fair justice to everyone I worked for. Met some great characters and great families and great setups while I was out on the country with this machine. But everyone bar one person has yet to pay me for the work I done back in May, which it's a good while to be kind of waiting to be paid. But that's another side of contracting as a contractor. You know, I often get asked by young lads, you know, I'm thinking of starting contracting, what's your advice and things like that. And there's a whole lot of things you have to consider. You have to consider not getting paid when the job is done. You have to consider lads hanging you out for a long period of time. You have to consider if you hire, or if you purchase a machine like this where you have monthly or quarterly or half yearly repayments to be made, that there's a high possibility you won't be able to earn enough to make that, depending on the year, depending on demand, depending on the type of machine you buy. And that's where, for someone looking to get started, a machine that you can buy outright from day one, you don't have to worry about making the repayments. Now I am lucky, the bit I'm short, that 10 acres, 5 hours, it's not a wild pile of money. I have the other income sources to be able to make that payment, so I'm not worried. I was expecting it, but it is what it is. Next year I already have work lined up, work that I've done for men this year, work for customers of our own. I have one job in particular that might come on stream, that it'll be a hell of a job. It could be a week's work, but in one job it could make the whole year's repayments in one job if it comes on stream. And that's another thing, it's all ifs, ands and buts. It is what it is, and that's how I got on this year. So overall, am I happy? I am happy. It's done exactly what's said in the tin. It hasn't let me down, left me undecided, well, in a field broken, and it seems like a pretty reliable machine. So it has, it's treated me well, and I'm looking forward to next year now and seeing what work lines up. Will this big job come on stream, and how it all works out for next year. I really do enjoy contracting because I love being able to getting out and seeing other men's setups and farms and talking, meet some great characters when you're on the road. Sometimes it can be difficult, it can put you under pressure, but as the old saying goes, pressure is for tires. We're going to get this put into the shed now, rest it up for the winter and bring it back out for next spring. It's looking like I'll have a nice chunk of work for next year, and not alone that, but we're going to try and do more of our own ground, in particular the land with all the stones in it we call the wet field, just outside of Killashee. It is hellish stone. There was a lot of reclamation work was done there maybe 5, 6, 8 years ago, and we're going to try and see can we get that picked and use the pickings of the stone to put in a big stone shore into the wettest part of the field and see can we improve the field as well as kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So yeah, all in all, quite happy to have bought the stone picker. I am. And so that's the stone picker in the shed. Just about, I suppose. It depends on what way the wind blows. But it'll be first out of everything that's in the shed here. This is going to be first out. When the tillage starts to roll, we'll have it out to get stones picked off spring crops. And like that, if anyone is looking for stones picked off where they're putting in spring crops, because like I've seen ground that have done went from you wouldn't pull power harrow through it to power harrowing after me. So it does, everyone that have worked for this year has been happy. I've had no one complain to me. Everyone's been happy with it. Yeah, that's my tale of contracting for this year. My 3 machines. I actually I forgot I have the Triple K too, and I apart from using it on our own ground when I was running the stone picker, I used it once other than that on another job in front of the stone picker. It works an absolute treat to get stones up. Makes you so much faster picking stones, because rather than having to root up a couple of stones, all the stones are up on top of the soil and you can just soak them up. That's one thing about the stone picker. It is a slow job and you charge by the hour, so you're always trying to you're on this thing of you're trying to be efficient, but you're trying to make sure you get a good job done. And that's where the auto steer and the tractor really makes a big difference, because you know every run you're taking the full of the run. So anyways, look, I hope you enjoyed another video putting machinery away for the winter. All that's left to be done now, I'm going to go back and go put the two headers up into the hay shed, and then that's all the machinery put away for the winter. Everything is put away then. There's nothing to be moved until it's needed, whenever it's needed. So yeah, I don't know, is there much point? I think this video is either long enough or you're tired of listening to me talking by now. But look, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. Videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. That is it from me. Good luck.